Okay, welcome to one of our new programs, guys. It's Everyman Racing, and we're doing a bit of a review through the Ferraris, and it's what we like to call through the ages. So we're going to talk about the different Ferraris that have been available, starting with a Ferrari 355. Came out in 1994. This car was the replacement to the 348, and one of the main characteristics of this car was actually its drivability. A typical thing for most Ferrari owners is they take them out at the weekend and take them on lovely country runs, but they started to have to go a little bit more around town, a bit more flash, trying to drive around London, etc. 348s tended to struggle with that. 355 was giving the city drivability for this car, where actually it could drive at lower speeds quite comfortably. A little bit of an increase in horsepower. It's a 3.5 litre, which is where the 355 comes from, 375 horsepower. And this car was made, as I said, from 1994 right the way up to 1999. 11,000 of these were made. A true driver's car still. It's no traction control. It actually had all of the characteristics of a race car, and really sort of carried that luxury image as well. Very sharp angles with the look. But they then refined it in a little bit with the drivability, as I've said. Power assisted steering came in, a 6-speed gearbox. Typical Ferrari gated gearbox, which we'll show you inside the car in a little bit, but actually they were the first model of the Ferrari range to actually introduce in 1997 the F1 gearbox, and that actually made the drivability to feel like you were a Formula 1 driver with the paddle shift drive. 0 to 60, 4.7 seconds, so doesn't sound the fastest thing in the world in today's speeds, but it was back then. It was definitely one of the hyper cars of the time, and a top speed of 183 miles per hour. Okay, so we're talking about the styling. Now we are here inside the Ferrari 355. A lot more harsher by comparison to the later cars, you would say, but it wasn't at the time. I remember when we first bought this car, it was nearly new, and started to run it on our days. Ferrari 355, great things. You can adjust the steering wheel. It was one of the first things you could do, so different size people could actually get the steering wheel up and down, so they could get slightly bigger legs under there. But the real big thing about Ferrari, the stick shift. Nice 6-speed stick shift gearbox. Took a little bit of time in the day to warm them up in the morning, so on a really cold day you could find that you struggled to change gears until you'd got certainly 6,000 or 7,000 miles down the road. But the idea of these were performance gearbox, just like in a Ferrari race car as it was at the time, as we said. And then they did in 1997 brought the paddle shifts, which we also have a 355 with the paddle shifts, and it just made this a really great car to drive. No traction control. You can see very little switches in the car to actually help you keep the car on the road, so it did sort of reward good driving techniques to actually get the most out of it. Here we are on obviously Everyman's home track at Crestwold. And it just grips, even though you haven't got the traction control, for something that's over 20 years old. It's a great car.